things.
Okay.
Then you move to the third one. Now, when you increase production, and then you promote value addition, the last one is what we call boosting household food and nutrition security.
Okay.
Boosting household food and nutrition.
How is that going to be done?
Excellently. That is why we have the backyard.
Okay.
Once the people are rearing the bears, they will now have to eat some of the bears.
Okay.
But they don't have to eat all. They have to sell some and then reinvest. That was the caution I sounded when I appeared before Parliament.
Right.
That, look, you have raised the bears. That is excellent. But once you have been considered and given even 10, 20, 50, whatever you are given, you have the right. You are a human being. You cannot leave the bears there and then go to the market to buy chicken to come and eat once you have it.
Okay.
So consume some, but don't consume everything.
Are they aware how many, for instance, if you have 20 birds, how many you are to consume, or there's no clarity?
We don't have any amount or number for you to consume. Okay. But what we are saying is that we want you to see it as a business, as a seed for you to grow and live on.
So you're saying that it's not misplaced at all, that some of these farmers are consuming some birds?
If you want to boost household food security and nutrition, consumption is part of it.
Okay.
In any case, what are birds raised for? Are they clocks to be fixed on the wall for people to look at? They are meant for consumption, and the local consumption. So even when you encourage them to sell, they are selling to local people for consumption. So the ultimate of this investment is to boost local consumption.
Okay.
So that people can develop taste for locally produced bears. And that will shift the demand for imported poultry to locally produced ones. Because as we speak, on annual basis, we spend $350 million United States dollars to import poultry products into Ghana. That huge amount of money is creating jobs in those countries at the expense and peril of the youth of our nation. And that is why we said that with this project, we are going to unlock the full potential of the poultry subsector for job creation. Now, after the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, when we are done, we then move to the second phase. And then in the second phase, we are targeting the medium-scale producers.
Still under the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti.
Under the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti.
So the first explanation you gave happens at the household level.
The household level.
Okay.
Now, when we are done with that, then we move from the household. We are now going to those who are into commercial poultry business.
Okay.
Some of them have been categorized as the middle or medium-scale producers. They are able to do from 500 bears to, let's say, 3,000 bears. They need the capacity to expand. And it is the duty of government, as we pursue increase in production, to give them that support to enable them expand.
Good morning, welcome to the Joy Business Roundtable discussion where we're going to be assessing Ghana's poultry industry. And today we were speaking on the theme, can Ghana feed itself? The future of poultry beyond Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. My name is Winston Taki, and I'm sure you heard the conversation from the minister by my colleague, Carlos Kaloni, who spoke to him quite large this week, and he raised quite key concerns about how the project has been handled. And I like the part where he said, you can consume some, but don't consume all. And that's a very interesting take there. And we'll be delving deeper in the conversation here with my panelists in studio. I'll be joined by Dr. Dan Akwe, Agri Impact Limited, also Happy Impact Project as well. Also in studio with me, I'll be talking to Edith Akosa Witchland, CEO of Rockland Farms, and also Raymond Dente, agribusiness, finance and market system and poultry sector expert. Also in studio with us, Dr. Kwao Peku, representative of Veterinary Medical Association. And we'll also be having Timothy Alabi, Agri Sector Lead, Ecobank Ghana Limited. And on Zoom, our bright Kojo Dimoji, the National Coordinator of the Feed Ghana Program, and Ali Mohammed, the CEO of Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. So yes, we are live on Joy 99.7 FM and also on Joy News channel across all our social media platforms. And this morning we'll be delving deeper from across the financing model, the challenges, the key conversation that need to be had, why the policy needs to be reviewed. If you have a concern, also let us know on our social media platform. We'll be reading it live here on the discussion. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'll take you through the numbers. Yes, this is not beyond the numbers, but indeed it's going to be about numbers and about fact, about research here on the show. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll go straight to the conversation.
So I should type in my Momo pen.
Yes.
So you're not scamming me.
No.
MTN will not call you to request for what? Your PIN.
The fraud cases are ticking up. They're trending upwards.
I was very comfortable thinking that I was speaking to a rep from DSTV. And if it's happening to me, it can happen to anybody. Guys, these guys are not playing.
So they took the 91 cedis, wiped everything from my account, and also took MTN extra balance.
It looks like they are hypnotized, or I don't know what they tell them.
Fraudsters using psychological manipulation to manipulate and to get information from you, pretending to be who they are not.
Fraudsters steal from one bank and walk into another and do the same thing. Same credentials, same Ghana card. They do it again and again. There's nothing stopping them.
We have this hypothesis we need to test. What is the relationship between digital payments and the economy? And that the survival of our economy depends on the strength of digital payments and its safety.
The digital economy, based on digital apps, technologies, is expected to grow faster than the traditional economy.
Trust is a currency. The moment we lose that trust, the trajectory that we are on towards a cashless economy is at risk.
Digital Economy Forum, the trust crisis, why fraud is holding back Ghana's digital economy. Brought to you in partnership with Haptel. It's happening on Wednesday, July 22nd at 8 p.m. live on Joy News, Joy FM, and across our social media platforms.
Welcome back to the Joy Business Roundtable discussion, and this time we are putting the spotlight on Ghana's poultry sector. Straight to the numbers, Ghana's poultry sector in terms of self-sufficiency rate is around 12%. This is where the number speaks. If we look at how we've been able to be self-sufficient in the sector, we can mark it to 12%. In terms of production, how far we've come as a country. But if you go through some of the report from the Ministry of Agriculture, it tells you that there are some challenges confronting the sector, and key among them is a high cost of feed. Certainly, we'll be assessing that in the course of the discussion. And another one is a weak animal health management system, as well as weak value chain linkages. These are the eminent challenges that are confronting. Certainly, there are some deep dive conversations amongst these that will certainly come up in the course of the conversation. But if you go on once again, you get to understand that if it comes to the poultry sector, we took a number and analyzed a 5-year average import bill, how much we import as a country. If you look at the numbers, quite disturbing. So the averagely we import about $296 million of poultry. We're looking at a 5-year average import bill. The question we keep asking ourselves is, why are we not self-sufficient? Do we have enough capacity? How many processing facilities do we have in the country? Are they able to meet our demand? How much, in terms of funding, are the challenges that needs to be raised to ensure that the shortfall, the gap, is usually closed? But if we go through the import bill, we want to go through the trend. So from 5 years, that is starting from 2020 to 2024. In 2020, we were around $372 million in terms of import of poultry. Over the years, the numbers kept reducing because there have been several policies in that direction. In 2021, we saw our import bill in terms of poultry import to 296. In 2020, we were around 257. And within 2022 and 2023, we went back to importing more poultry, basically $300 million. But the numbers kept coming down, averagely falling by $45 million in terms of 2024. But over the years, the numbers kept increasing, and certainly policies upon policies have come to stay. What's the poultry sector in terms of the government Feed Ghana project? That is what we want to assess today. The minister was in studio here on Joy News. He spoke extensively on it. We will also be joined on Zoom, certainly by the coordinator of the project. And before we do that, I want you to understand that these are some of the promises that the poultry project intends to give. Large-scale commercial poultry farms, small to medium-scale poultry farms, backyard poultry farming, which is basically the center of the conversation. So beyond this, what should we do as a country? They say you can eat some but don't eat all. There should be a commercial element in this Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti project. But the fact is that if you have your tomatoes in the whole garden, backyard garden, you have backyard poultry, you don't need to go to the farm. You have to eat. And in this instance, the minister said there should be a commercial element. And he raised a very interesting conversation that next year, hopefully, there's going to be a processing plant looking forward to processing about 90,000 per day poultry in terms of packaging, marketing. All these are elements that he says are part of the project. We also want to look at the nature of our self-sufficiency. We have to increase over the years. So Ghana's poultry sector self-sufficiency projection made. So we made a projection to up to the year 2029. In 2025, we understand we are starting at 12%. If this project, should we say, comes to a point where it's in full implementation across regions, across countries, with Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti coming into play, we are likely to see our sufficiency rate increasing to 48% in 2027, possibly 76% in 2028. And if possible, we get to a point where we are around 104%. So this is how it looks right now. Now we come in studio to delve deeper, break it down, diagnose the challenges, and what is the future that holds for Ghana's poultry industry. I would like to start with Dr. Dan Akwe. He is the Agri Impact Limited, the CEO of Agri Impact Limited, and also Happy Project here in studio. I also have Edith Akosa-Whitland, the CEO of Rockland Farms, and also Raymond Dente, agribusiness finance and marketing system and poultry sector expert. Dr. Kwao Beko is also the representative of the Veterinary Medical Association. Timothy Alabi is the agri sector lead, Ecobank Ghana Limited, and also we'll be having on Zoom shortly who will be taking us through the presentation, Bright Kojo Demoji, the National Coordinator for Feed Ghana Program, and Ali Mohammed, the CEO of Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. I would like to begin, first of all, with Mr. Ali, not Mr. Ali, basically. I'll begin with Madam Edith Akosa-Whitland, who is here in studio. So I would like to take introductory statement from them before we come deeper into the conversation and get a presentation from the coordinator for the Feed Ghana project, that is Bright Dimoji, shortly. So it's good. First of all, let me begin with Madam Edith. What is your assessment of Ghana's poultry sector so far?
Thank you very much. And thank you, viewers. And thank you for giving us this platform to tell the government what we think, what the industry think can help to make Ghana poultry sustainable. Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, well, I have to commend His Excellency the President for taking that bold decision. If you look at the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, it was a program that was geared towards the BOPs, and not for the sustainability of the poultry industry. It's a very good project, don't get me wrong. But if we are looking at the future of poultry farm, however, we need to look beyond that, taking into account the weak infrastructure that we have, veterinary issues we have, and the silent way of doing things in this country. The value chain is not well coordinated. We have Ministry of Trade doing something on its own, Ministry of Agric, FDA, veterinary. We need to have one stop point. When somebody wants to start a poultry, where does the person go to? Do I start with FDA? Do I start with APD under the Ministry of Agric? Do I go to EPA? Do I go to FDA? Do I go to GSA? We need to have a coordinated approach.
Wonderful.
We can look at other countries, how they've developed poultry, how they make poultry sustainable. Looking at Brazil, Rwanda, Morocco, South Africa. What did they do different? They took a coordinated approach, a national approach. That is how the poultry was able to make sustainable in those countries. Well, I take America. Back to the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. American poultry became commercial. It used to be a backyard farming for housewives. Women doing 30 birds, 50 birds. But one woman changed American poultry from backyard farming to a commercial farming. How? He was raising 50 birds. The hatchery mistakenly sent her 500 birds. The woman raised it. She paid back. The next, it was not the 50 she was ordering. She increased it. The husband who was doing 9-to-5 job realized that the woman is making more than what he is doing. He left his job, joined the wife. They carry on. The neighbors realized, oh, look at these people. The poultry farm that they are doing, they are making it. They also joined. That is how American poultry changed from the late 30s to a commercial venture. So, Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti can also bring us something.
Great. What a way to start the show. Let me also get Dr. Dan Akwe into the conversation. Doc, your initial statement.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure what Madam Edith said is what the minister was also trying to reiterate, but we got it quite in a different light. People eating the chicken sort of looking at it commercially. All right, Doc.
Thank you very much. I'm always excited when agribusiness gets space in the media landscape, because it used to be an industry where, let me call it media space marginalized. But these days we get the opportunity to talk about agribusiness. And thankfully, today we are also looking at poultry. I might not dwell too much on Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, but to look at the whole poultry landscape. We have seen some figures, and that we've moved from maybe 10% self-sufficiency to 12%. We used to be a net importer, and then we came down a net exporter of poultry, and then we came down to imports. and maybe we are trying to move up. But to move up in that scale, we go beyond policy. Now the policy, I'm sure we'll have more time to talk about.
Yes.
But the policy has always been there, year after year, government after government. Then beyond the policy is the political will. And the third, beyond the political will, is the political practice. So you have a policy. We tend to have excellent policies. Other countries will come and learn from the policies that we have developed for our sectors. But then the political will to move resources to support the policy is always lacking. And then the political practice is practice that goes contrary to the policy, or a practice that will negate the import of the policy. So for example, we have a policy to increase our poultry production and consumption. Is there a political will to throw investment behind it? And what is the practice? As we are promoting production, processing, and consumption, the practice is also promoting and supporting import, which negates the very effort that we are trying to achieve. And that is why I'm saying you have the policy, you have the political will, and the political practice. And the political practice tend to negate any objective of the policy, and then the will that is behind that policy.
All right, I think we'll come back to delving deeper in that particular aspect, the fact that a lot of politics comes into play when it comes to policy and how it's been implemented. That is a very good take there. Let me bring Mr. Raymond Dente on this conversation as well. Raymond, you've heard from both initial speakers in terms of the introductory speech. What do you have to share with us?
To me, I think we have a very good industry, and as Dr. Akwi said, we started on a very good note, but along the line, we allow the system to slip out of our hand, and we've lost the industry, and we are now playing catch up. A very good industry for both job creation, import substitution, stabilizing our currency, also as an inlet for input, maize, soya, and things like that. But not to mince words, it's an industry that is walking dead. Some statistics differ, even paint a more grim picture to what you shared with us. Some see as much as importing 400,000 metric tons of chicken, and we're doing less than 5% of it, from self-sufficiency to 5%. And we know anytime you import a good or service, you're creating jobs in another country. The challenges we are facing, I think poultry can really help to address most of those challenges. And as other panelists said earlier, I think we are working against each other. Government has spent a lot of money in the industry. There are no lessons learned. We keep repeating the same things that are not working. So we don't take stock to revise the strategy, to revise the policy, but we keep doing the same thing, and it's been very counterproductive. And we've put ourselves in a very bad state, and we need to get out of it. Devoid of politics, devoid of anything else. We should come together as Ghanaians and move the industry out of this current.
Thank you very much, Ramon. We'll come to the objective assessment of this particular conversation shortly. But one thing Madam Edith mentioned is interministerial coordination, which I would like to know from the perspective of the Veterinary Medical Association. Dr. Kwao Peku, who is here with us. In terms of the sector, has there been much collaboration? Where do you stand as of now?
Thank you so much, and I'm grateful for the opportunity given. And I think it's a very wonderful platform for us to share. I think it's our goal to ensure that every government policy like Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti succeeds, just like other policies have come and they've gone. But when these are very brilliant policies, if you look at the structures that have been put in place. But now it comes to the point of implementation. where if you look at the key challenges, I think from the poultry industry, weak animal health, health management systems, and all that. And most of these policies have not succeeded, all because of outbreak of diseases and all these things, all because the key stakeholders sometimes are taken off. We are not being involved in most of the policies when it comes to the district level, community levels, and all that. There's no full participation, and also due to a lot of logistical constraints when they talk about staffing, when they talk about equipment to be able to monitor most of these programs and all that. So I think that most of these policies are very brilliant, like we've said, but a lot of things have to be done. It's not just veterinary services, but we are also looking at other stakeholders that also play a very vital role in these government policies. And I think that much has to be done when we want to see this policy succeeding, just to help our nation. So the collaboration has not really been there when it comes to the district level, local level, and all that. And that really affects most of these policies.
I'll certainly come back to understand which particular areas do you think these collaborations are essential to enhance the outlook of the sector from the veterinary doctors associations and your assessment on it so far. Now we'll only look at the funding aspect. Mr. Timothy Alabi, you have been leading a lot of projects from your perspective. What do you make of the involvement of the private and public funding that are quite available for the sector? Has it been much, and how do you see it so far?
Yeah, so thank you very much for the platform. So for we at EcoBank, we have been very deliberate about agri-financing for some years now, and so the poultry sector is no exception. We are ready to go the full haul, and I can tell you that we are doing quite some great things with regards to financing poultry. And so I believe this is the best platform to let the world know what we are doing at EcoBank. The challenge had been the fragmented nature of financing when it comes to poultry. And so at EcoBank, we are looking at connecting the various sections of the entire value chain, because we believe that is the way to go. And so we are ready to go the full haul, and that is exactly what we'll do.
Interesting there. We'll come back to you shortly. Now, I want us to go to a very insightful presentation that will be done right about now. We're joined on Zoom by the coordinator. All right. Now, I think we'll start first of all with Ali Mohammed, the CEO of the Greater Accra Regional Poultry Farmers Association, who will be taking us through and the insights of how the industry has been so far from his perspective, and how the association has been able to surmount some of the challenges that they've been confronted over the years. In this month and within the months of this year, you've seen several collaborations with the association together with Multimedia Group, and we do some open markets where people come through and buy some of their produce. We create a market for them, and therefore we have been intermediary in this. That is why it's important to accelerate this conversation here on the Joy Business Roundtable. So I want to go straight to Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, we want to understand from you how the sector has been so far from the membership and also to the consumer perspective.
Thank you, my brother. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes, very well. I like the last statement that you did mention in collaboration with some media houses, particularly Multimedia, helping our gallant farmers to do away with their products. Let me say, before my coordinator comes in, we would like to commend government for this wonderful initiative by Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. But to solve the sector problem, Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti can never do anything. Looking at the policy document, probably on the paper, it looks very wonderful. But looking at the first phase, if it's anything to go by, actually, the policymakers need to come down. they need to calm down. Because look, there's a disjoint from the local to the national level. There's no coordination in policy implementation, how to roll out. Look, my brother, we are more interested in the value chain beyond only raising the best. How do you increase your maize production? How do you increase your soya meal production? These are the major components in poultry production. There's a total disjoint. Whenever we approach these policymakers, we are not in for the freebies. We want this thing to be sustainable. But there's a lack of coordination. You go to Ministry of Trade, there's no information for you. You come to Ministry of Agri, nobody's willing to open up for you. The veterinary service, everything is in shambles. Look, it is not for nothing that people were rejoicing when the mere mention of Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. When we saw the intervention to be led by government, we say, hallelujah, government is going to do something wonderful. But after some few months into the first phase of the implementation, we said, no. It's just only a catchy phase. But what is going to touch the heart of the industry to turn it around? Charlie, we are missing the big point. Look, some few months ago, we need to come to multimedia, help us during the egg glut. Why should the farmer, after going through all this hassle, raise birds, have these eggs, and there is no market for its products? It hurts a lot. Look, poultry.
Ali, you mentioned very interesting thing. You said that when you saw the policy paper, you weren't quite convinced. What was missing in that policy document that you can enlighten us about?
Look, there's everything missing in that document. What is the coordination between? Look, the major input for the poultry is actually the raw material for the feed. You talk about soya, you talk about maize. My brother, what is the coordination between the local farmers who plant the maize and who are in the soya processing? There's no coordination. Don't mind you, humans are competing with this same product. When you can't manage the costs of the feed, there's no way you can be competitive. My farmers can never be competitive. The foreign frozen chicken are competitive because there's one element called costs. The cost is manageable at their end. Without it, forget it. Look, you can bring Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti several million times. It will never make the impact. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you one thing. The Ghanaian consumer knows the chicken that tastes best. And he can tell you the local chicken. But when the consumer gets to the market, it's about disposable income against what he can afford. That's the bottom line.
All right, Ali, I will come back to you. We'll come back to you shortly. You said you don't see much about the policy document. Now, I would like us to go through Bright Dimoji. He's the coordinator for the Feed Ghana program, and he's going to basically speak to us on the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. We want to understand from the policy perspective what really it entails. So, Bright, you're live with us. I would like to hear from you as of now. Many have raised concerns about the policy. Can you enlighten us? First of all, someone listening to us for the first time is heard so much sloganeering about the project. Break it down for us, and where are we now?
Thank you very much. I guess you can hear me.
Very loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I want to use this opportunity to thank Joy News or Multimedia Group for this very wonderful program. But before I kickstart, I want to make some few responses to some of the comments by the initial remarks by the members on the round table. especially with regard to at least comment on the policy document. Let me say that before the preparation of this policy document called the Feed Ghana Program, which is the major vehicle for implementation or implementing the government program to use agriculture to transform the economy, promised and proposed by the NDC manifesto in 2024, we invited all stakeholders to look at the document and make recommendations and make their contribution towards the document. And we had 2 days thorough discussions for each sector group to look at the document. And the poultry farmers associations were heavily represented at that particular program. So I am extremely shocked by the initial comment by Mr. Ali, because they have a platform, they have the opportunity during even the validation program.
Mr. Remo, we move beyond the campaign season. We are now more in the practice where at the moment you are in government and the policy is in full force. We want to understand the current state of the policy.
No, I will do that.
Yes, because of time, we have to make sure, we'll get to the point where you can rebut some of the key issues.
I make these remarks. It's important I make these remarks.
Please make them brief because of time. Yes.
In the validation of this document, the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana were ably represented in the validation of the policy document. So the platform has been given to them to make whatever contributions that they can make as a key stakeholders of the subsector. That's one. Secondly, if you look at the guidelines for implementation of the Feed Ghana, at the district level, the Veterinary Services Department is a member. Animal Production Unit of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture are members of the task force. Chiefs, member associations of farmers and poultry farmers are members of the task force for implementation at the local level. Let me end it there. Maybe let me do my presentation now.
Sorry, please, can I?
Ali, we'll come to you shortly, please. Yeah, we'll come back to you. Hold on. Ali, please hold on. We'll come back to you shortly. Please, Remo, go ahead.
Yes.
Bright, go ahead.
To proceed on, as I said earlier on, the poultry sector is a very important sector for this country, and has a very huge potential to create jobs and to create wealth for the people of this country. And if you look at trajectory and look at history, backyard farming and backyard poultry have sustained this country for several years. Until recently, we realized that that component of our people engaging in backyard farming has come down drastically. That has led to that imbalance between importation of poultry products into the country and the level at which we can produce to feed ourselves. So basically, this concept of poultry revitalization program, which is one of the sub-components of the Feed Ghana program, is to address some of the key challenges in the poultry sector. The first one is, first of all, is to ignite interest in the poultry sector. The first one, our major reason or objective of bringing this program is to ensure that we bring the people of Ghana back into backyard poultry farming so that we can be able to increase poultry production as a major component of our food security program. Secondly, in doing so, we believe strongly we will reduce importation. So it's a form of import substitution program that we are implementing. And finally, it's also to ensure that we are completely food secure as far as meat production is concerned. Because if you look at the import bills against our production, it is not encouraging. And as a government, we need to do something immediately to turn around the table to ensure that we produce and also support our currency. Because using almost 300 million US dollars to import poultry into the country annually, it is something we want to deal with immediately.
Great. Right. I want to understand from you, what is the government doing now? It's been almost a year in that particular project's assessment. What has been done and what is yet to be done in terms of the project?
Yes. We started with the poultry program, which we call the Poultry Revitalization Program, has 3 components. The first one is what we call the backyard poultry program. That generally we call the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti program. And currently, we've been able to distribute about 202.5 million birds to backyard homes across the country. We have done 11 regions, and in each region we have distributed 10,000 birds in each region for an average of 200 to 300 poultry farmers or backyard farmers across the country. And that is only the first level. Apart from that, we have done a poultry cage systems for the vulnerable groups across the country. That one, about 4,000 farmers have also benefited from the poultry cage system across the country. So under the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti programs, I can tell you that 11 regions across the country, except the 5 northern regions, have benefited from this program. And we are moving into the second phase of the Poultry Revitalization Program, which is called the support for small to medium scale poultry farmers. And then the last one, which we call the large scale farmer support program, we call the farm to table. That is why I'm saying that immediately in the 3rd quarter of this year, the small to medium scale farm component of the Poultry Revitalization Program, which is the second component of the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti program, will take off in earnest. And then the 3rd component, which is the large scale commercial farms, will also start immediately. So you need to look comprehensively at what the Feed Ghana program under the poultry sector is concerned before you can criticize. Because we are only at the first phase of its implementation. So if you don't look at the policy holistically, you will not get it clear. That is why immediately we started the distribution of the birds across the country. We said, no, we know, everybody in this country know that there is a huge gap between production and import. From our perspective, the figures are damning. In 2024, we produced less than 5% of what the chicken we consume in this country. And our focus is that the next 4 years, we should get to at least 70. We are doing 4 million for small to medium scale poultry farmers. And we are also ensuring that the vulnerable groups, which we are supporting, I'm talking about the women vulnerable groups, have also done about 1.5 million. So the target is that the next 3 to 4 years, we'll be able to get to about 76% of our poultry consumption as far as the program is concerned.
Please,
thank you very much.
When we talk about, that's why when we talk about Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti,
yes,
we are not only talking about just production at the backyard level. I said we are moving straight into the second level of implementation, which is the support for small to medium scale poultry farmers.
Please, can I make some intervention?
Remo, briefly, I think Ali wants to ask Ali, please make it brief.
Very well. Please, you know, my first time of meeting Honorable Demoji in his office is when we realized the project is going to take off, when we didn't make an input into the policy document. I made several attempts and we never cited that document. As the biggest poultry farmers association in the country, with the only poultry farmers association that has the feed mill plant, we never made input into the policy document. That should be it should be a matter of record. We have never made an input into the policy document. We've never cited it before. I sent a letter to the Honorable Demoji's office. I was there on 3 occasions. We want to be given opportunity to make an input. We were not given that opportunity. We are not only raising birds, we are the only association that have a feed mill plant. And we are employing people into hundreds on our feed mill plant.
Okay. So, Ali, I get your point. Just you cool your guys. We will come back to you.
We will not make an input into the document.
All right. Remember, Ali, we'll come back to you shortly. Also, Mr. Bright, kindly hold on for us. We'll come back to you shortly. I want us to go through a very interesting aspect of the next set, which is basically understanding the real poultry challenge. Why Ghana still import nearly 90% of the chicken it consumes. This is a brief presentation that I would like to get Mr. Raymond Dente, the lead consultant of the National Poultry Sector Master Plan, on as of now. So, Mr. Raymond, you've heard from the coordinator, including the Greater Accra CEO of the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association, all of them raising key concerns. But just lead us through. How does Ghana's master plan look like? What are we falling short of from your assessment? The presentation will come on your screen as of now.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge agri-impact and
yeah, so I mean, if you take a step back and we look at the historical context, as has been said over the period, Ghana used to be very self-sufficient in the poultry sector. We were net exporters to the sub-region. But a number of factors affected our industry. One is the fact that the industry grows very fast and was growing very fast, and our systems did not catch up, scientific system and other things. Again, if you look at most of in the 80s, in the 80s, Ghana faced some challenges, and then we asked for help. I mean, can they roll? Yeah. We asked for some help from the international agencies. So that's what I said. So in the 80s and the 70s, we had all the various economic recovery programs. And those programs, as part of the programs, we were asked to liberalize our economy. So the cheap imports started coming in from the 80s, the 70s, the 2000s. And the cheap import came in such that the prices were cheaper. And as I said, the sector also didn't catch up. So then consumers generally will tilt towards cheaper products. Okay. Yeah. And so that is really what affected us in doing that. Please go on. But I mean, can you
next slide?
Can you go to the next slide?
Okay, so as you can see, these are the numbers here. I can see some national broiler market. If you look at the strength, weakness, and opportunities out there.
Yeah, so as we said, we've been indicated that yes, people want to buy local chicken because it tastes better, but there are a lot of weaknesses. We've mentioned this over and over again, and they are threats. One of the chief threats is the cheap imports that come in. And I hear a lot of people saying that we should ban imports. Ghana is a signatory to some trade agreement, and it's not going to be easy. So for me, one of the things we have to do as a country is to make it market-led. I mean, can we go on? It's also been said over and over and over again that maize, and I don't want to belabor that point, cost of feed is about 60 to 70% of cost of production. And we know our maize production, our feed, sadly, we produce one of the best soya beans, but we export our soya bean, and then we import soya meal.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of systems that we need to look at, and In most of the discussion that we keep hearing, and I think that's why a lot of people punch holes in some of these government interventions. We hear supply of DO checks, they hear the supply of feed. The sad thing is that most of the DO that is supplied is imported. Our breeder system is near dead. We don't do as much. So to sustain some of this industry, we need to import. And once we import, freight charges come in. Duty and that, so we increase the cost of production. And we said, look, this numbers game is a cost item. So we need to. So if government really want to support the sector, government must look at helping build a base, but not to invest. I'm seriously against government intervention because over the years it hasn't helped. Supplying the DO checks, supplying the feed hasn't really created any sustainable model. It's just like laziness in thought. We just supply that and we don't know what happens. Another thing. So currently, let's move on because of time. Let's go on. Despite all these challenges, please let's go on. Yes, I want us to look at this. I mean, despite all the challenges, the actors have been very, very resilient. They've been trying. We used to say imports. I mean, the price of imports is because it's cheaper. That's why they're buying. But currently, I mean, I did this somewhere in June to compare the prices. If you look
June 2026.
Just June 2026.
Interesting.
I mean, we have some. There are a lot of other people who are struggling, who are making it. That's a few. This produce. I don't like the use of locally produced. It's nationally produced, and the import. Look at the price difference. And the leg quarter of the Thai. Some of the prices are going down in the midst of all this thing, and so I think we need support to point of sale. I don't know, a lot of people don't know where some of this.
No, I'm seeing the wings in the soft 45 cities, and also that is the imported one, and the local one 65 Ghana cedis.
But look at the Thai. The imported is 40. Agro-Innova Cocoa Market is selling at 30. You understand?
Yes.
Look at, I mean, so it varies. There are some of them that this whole chicken imported is about 68, and somebody is doing agro is doing at 60. So the market is trying. So for me, one of the quick, low-hanging fruits, if you want to support, again, not putting money, is look at the marketing. Broiler production is not too difficult because 6 weeks they are ready. If you have a very good feed conversion ratio and things like that. So if guys can support to look at the market. Once there's market, a lot of farmers produce broilers and they cry. As the minister himself said, a lot of people have said, they cry because there's no market for them. So you can pull along once Ghanaians know where to find this market. How do you make it even more accessible to the general public to buy? Like I said, banning is not going to be easy, but if you bring it and nobody is buying because locally we've put in structures like that, we are very competitive. That makes it easier to take.
So you mean the problem is not about price?
To some level, it's not about price.
Okay.
To some level, let's go on. Let's look at.
Yes.
Let's go on, and then we look. And again, this is one thing I want to share. From the EU region alone, last year we imported over 160,000 metric tons of chicken. And you think they will stand aside for us to ban? They won't, because we have become an outlet for them to sell their surplus, create jobs instead of going to waste. So they will. And if we even put in some intervention, it will go down better because this is a surplus price. One thing we should note is that in most of the Western countries, the part of the chicken that they export to Ghana are what they consider them to be byproducts. They like to take in the breast. So the wings and things like that, if the competition become keen, they can continue to push the price down. So most of the countries in Africa that have managed to attain some level of self-sufficiency, you have to look at either a total ban or some managed trade system where you control it very much. Nigeria, total ban. South Africa is managed trade. Cote d'Ivoire, total ban. Senegal, total ban. So we need to. So that's why those are the areas we need government to support. Please, can we go on? I have only 15 minutes. Yeah. So this is another thing I want us to look at. You said almost 390, but some data show that we import about 400,000 metric tons. What I want us to look at, and then all the policy people to look at, is that if you want to do only 25% of import substitution, you need to be looking at 66 million chicken a year, weekly of 1.2 million chicken. So the 2.5 that you say a year, we don't really do anything to us. So The backyard is not a bad thing. But again, one thing I want to say is that if you want to do backyard, you don't buy broiler at 18, 20 cedis and do backyard. They are breeds that have been specially bred for that system, where some of them are dual purpose. They can give you good meat. They have a good meat conversion, and then they can also give you some eggs. So they are best for that. But if you buy broilers that were even developed for temperate areas, where most Western farms, when you go, the whole farm is temperature controlled, because there are key indicators that you have to meet to be able to hit the maximum output. The temperature must be within a particular setting. Yeah. So broiler is not the thing. If government wants to really do backyard garden, we don't import broilers and share to individuals to raise. They should give us, I have key questions for them. What was the feed conversion ratio for those bears? At 8 weeks, what was the weight? What was the mortality rate?
That is the best that have been distributed.
Those are some of the things that we do, because it's all about numbers and it's all about efficiency. What were the mortality rates and things like that? And how many of it went into the market? So we need to look at some of those specs. And another thing these are the numbers we need to look at. I mean, we need over 200,000 metric tons of maize and feed. Where are those things coming from? So we don't throw this number. And again, we cannot rely on imported. So to just save time. So one of the things that we are doing currently with the help of MasterCard Foundation and through Agri-Impact is to put together a coherent master plan to address all these challenges. Right, we are building a house. You need to look at the foundation, our input, maize, soya, and then the DO checks. Where are they coming from? Where are you going to get them? You need breeder farms and things like that. Where do you have to site them? Even like I said, temperature plays a very key role and things like that. So we've put them together, and I mean we did that with a lot of engagement with the stakeholders. Tell us what you want to see in the master plan we put together, and if we can have an opportunity to liaise with the ministry. We all talk about the problem.
So is that a case where the master plan is on a different road whilst the Feed Ghana project is on a different road? Has there been any synergy in any way? Has there been any conversation?
Yesterday, for the past 2 days, we were in Nkokor trying to validate what the work has been done so far in the master plan. And the Feed Ghana project has come in. So we want to see how we can coordinate. I mean,
after a whole year, it was just yesterday that you had a first meeting, or there has been subsequent conversations?
No, we started this somewhere last year. We wanted to get the stakeholders involved. So the first thing we did was to engage the stakeholders in Tamale, all the stakeholders in northern region, northern Ghana. In Tamale, we came to Kumasi and we came to Accra to engage all the stakeholders. Look, we are putting together a master plan. What do you want to see in it? What are your challenges? And we did that. So after taking the inputs from the stakeholders, we put together a draft document. And the next step is what we did 2 days in a row was to look at the feedback from some selected stakeholders and say, okay, this is what we've put together. Do you think this strategy makes sense? Do you think it will address? We've got people from MOFA, veterinary, poultry producers, other value chain actors. So then they give us feedback to fill in any gaps, anything that we have left. And we also made it clear, criticize it. I realized the coordinator was getting sensitive. I think there's something wrong with somebody adding another point to it, because things are moving so fast, new ideas may come up. So I think we should also open ourselves to feedback, and when it comes to us, criticism, it doesn't take anything away from us, so that we can, whatever we are doing, become something that addresses most of the issues we're talking about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raymond Dente. He's a lead consultant with the National Poultry Sector Master Plan. He's taken us through the current state, the outlook of the master plan, and what we should be expecting. And certainly we'll come back to him briefly. I want to get Dr. Dan Akwe, the CEO of Agri-Impact, on this conversation. You've heard from the lead consultant, you've heard from the Accra Poultry Farmers Association, and all of them have raised key concerns. You, as a farmer, you have seen it all. What do you have to say?
Thank you very much. Somewhere 2022, 2023, Agri-Impact, in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, identified the key challenges in the poultry sector and decided to convert these challenges into opportunities, which can call for investment and create jobs, first of all, for young people and especially young women, and also produce chicken for Ghana and reduce our imports. Through that, we liaise with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to come up with the Poultry Master Plan, and Raymond was the consultant to lead the development of the Poultry Master Plan. And the purpose of the Poultry Master Plan is to give a roadmap to make Ghana poultry self-sufficient, but in staggered stages. So we can't be self-sufficient in three years. That's almost impossible. And like we said, we consume over 200 million birds annually. We are doing about 10 to 12%. For us to move, like even if we are to do 25% more, it's not only supply of chicken, it's the maize, it's the soya, and it's the infrastructure as well as the practices. A key example, I like what I think Raymond said, that when we are developing policies, sometimes we review, not that we don't review, we review the previous policies, but we don't take lessons from the review. Because if we take lessons from previous policies, we will be very circumspect in certain approaches that we use to deliver on either a policy or on a strategy. And again, there are also successful models. For example, he showed price trends, and we saw price competition between Aglo Farm and the imported. And in some cases, Aglo Farm, which is a national poultry company, has a price lower than an imported chicken. What are they doing right that can be scaled? I'll give an example. In 2023, when Agri-Impact, with the support of the MasterCard Foundation and in partnership with MOFA, came into the space, Aglo that we are talking about today had closed down. They had processing infrastructure closed down. And thieves have even started stealing some of their equipment. But with intervention, in a matter of 2 years, Aglo is doing over 200,000 birds a month and has the license to supply KFC. So that model is there and it has not failed. By catalyzing that processing unit, other poultry farms around Porting and Winneba area have the opportunity to produce and feed. If Aglo is to expand its markets by 3 times or begins to go under 24-hour economy and decide that they will do 2 or 3 shifts instead of 1 shift, then they are going to also increase their processing, and what they are taking from young people who are producing birds will be 3 times that. That is there. I'll take you to northern Ghana. We all had previously thought that it is not profitable or it's almost impossible to produce birds or do poultry in northern Ghana. Fortunately, there is a clear case for us to also learn from Lamdi Farms. Few years ago, Lamdi Farms was doing about 2,000 birds per annum. With the intervention of the MasterCard Foundation, Agri-Impact, the support in Starter Pack, as we speak today, it's able to do 26,000 birds at any given time in Wa and its environs, a place that we had previously declared as non-suitable for poultry production. And he's having his feed about 30% cheaper than the feed that is being produced in southern Ghana because of access to maize and soya produced in that locality. Why don't we scale models of this nature? We have Rockland also here, a woman who is striving hard to also break through in the poultry industry and has successes. So these are examples for us to scale. And like I said earlier, we can't continue to repeat failures. We have to learn from previous failures and make it better. So for us, looking at the poultry industry, what are the opportunities? And I also keep saying that the moment we talk about challenges, we see it as difficulties. But in other sectors, they will say that these are the investment opportunities. So all the challenges that we are listing, the best is to convert them into investment opportunities. And when we convert them into investment, when I come to you and I tell you that there's a challenge of feed in the poultry sector, you say, oh, sir, oh, okay, this is a challenge. And to you, you carry it along as there's a challenge. If I come to you and I say that there's an investment opportunity for poultry feed, you will sit up and begin to talk to investors. And that is the narrative that I want us to use, that, look, there are so many investment opportunities within the Ghana poultry industry space, from production of maize and soya through feed production. As we speak today, how many breeder stock farms do we have in the country? Almost zero. And we also import maybe 90% of the eggs.
All right.
That these are all investment opportunities. Then you come to the production. Almost every sector, I mean, does not necessarily have to be every district must have a processing.
All right. Then I'll come back to you once again. But I want to also get, when I'm editing this conversation, you are a player in the sector. You've seen it all, done it all. But I also want to get from you in terms of the feed structure. How have you been able to manage it so far? And why do you think we still have the challenge of importing feed to feed our local market?
Thank you very much once again. So, like Dr. Akwe said, the feed, I didn't perceive it as a challenge. Mm-hmm. I was a poultry farmer, not a feed miller. But when I wanted to go into the broiler production, I saw the opportunity to build a feed mill. Now we have a feed mill, eco-feeding, that does 8 to 10 tons per hour. Because we realize that 80% of the cost of the broiler is the feed. But buying it from somewhere was making my cost of production higher. Mm-hmm. We formed the outgrower, the maize outgrower. We have I found VSLA for the maize farmers as well. So we have close to 8,000 smallholder farmers that produces maize for us to use at the feed mill whilst we aggregate some of the feed. And giving them technical support on how to produce the maize efficiently, increase our yield, and also bringing down our cost of production in the broiler sector. So we saw that opportunity there to set up the feed mill. And what I would say, broiler, from what we learned from what we're doing, is a numbers game. I met director, how many years ago?
5.
About 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. That was when I approached him as a consultant to help me set up the broiler. And he asked me on the phone, what would you want to do? I told him, I want to produce 6 million birds a year. He said, okay, call me back. I called him several times. He didn't pick. He didn't mind me all those years. And we met again down the line. And I went and thanked him. Because when I met him and I told him I wanted to do 6 million birds a year, he realized I wasn't ready. I didn't know what I was talking about. At that time, I felt hurt. I felt disappointed, even with the banks. But then I used that as a stepping stone, as a learning curve. So I sat down, what can I do different? That next time when director sees me, he'll give me the support. We set up a pilot, we start the piloting. To know, we needed to know how to get the feed right, how to get everything right. I had to start from zero to learn. So capacity building is one of the key areas we have to look at to solve the issue that we are having. Now he is happy to support me. We are doing 2,000 birds per hour processing plant in the Ashanti region, and he's in full support of this idea because now he knows that we are ready because we've gone through the mill, getting the farmers together to produce the maize, getting the poultry, some of the poultry farmers also in a group with a capacity building, getting the finance ready to support them to raise the birds. We've had a meeting, the Secretary Enclave, we had a meeting with the 24-hour economy because we are not seeing this as a challenge. We told them what we've done before, the piloting that we've done, what we are ready to do, what's needed to be put in place for us to upskill and help with the food security. I know we are talking about initiatives, programs that we've done. Yes, the programs that we've done, each of them comes with policies, but it's not legislatively backed, so it keeps changing. And what we are talking about today is not 3 years thing that we can do. We need at least 10 to 20 years roadmap backed by legally documented that when there is a change of government, it cannot be changed. The poultry has to follow that roadmap that has been laid there. That is how we will be able to change it. We are talking about veterinary financing and all those. So we see that trying to have a sustainable poultry food security in Ghana is not up to one person. We cannot leave it to the farmers alone. It's something that all the economic sectors have to get involved for us to get it right. And this is what we see from where we sit. Look at finance. I have my guy sitting here. We don't have blended finance. The banks are so afraid to finance poultry sector that is unbelievable. But they don't have the appetite for it. But if we had a clear policy guideline, the government will not have to worry himself of getting money for the industry. They will have the appetite for it. Well, you will say we have GESA, which is the other arm of the government, which is changing the fear that the banks have by giving a guarantee backing for what the loan that is being used to support the poultry. But we need to do more.
But how have you been able to hit in your view on the market conversation? Because you keep hearing most of the associations say, we've produced, we have the numbers. Anytime the narrative about we substituting our import gap, sometimes it comes out to the market. Do we still have the local market? And how have you been able to solve that niche?
We still have the local market. The importers are also willing to take from us. They want to, they have a quality product. Looking at the infrastructure for processing and the code value chain that we have, it doesn't meet some of their standard. These need to be addressed. And this, like I said, it's a numbers game. What I'm currently doing is half of my house that I'm doing to produce. So the numbers that you need, you cannot get. That is why we are upscaling. We need to produce in large volumes. I visited a plant in the Netherlands. They do 160,000 birds a day. Besides their raw materials being subsidized, so if they are just making a peso per bird, look at the numbers. We were doing between 1,500 to 2,000 a day. And what we want to do now is 2,000 birds per hour. Signing up with the 24-hour economy, doing 3 shifts, you are looking at 40,000 birds a day. So look at the jobs that it can be created. And what we are trying to put up is the state of the art. So you are not just going to produce the bird, get rid of the feather somewhere, get rid of the blood, intestine somewhere. All these will be used to produce something else that will also bring the cost of our production down. And I had a market research done before I started the piloting, which was financed by the Dutch government under the SMV2 Scale project. what we realize is that Ghanaians are willing to pay a little bit extra for the locally produced chicken. And one of their issues is availability. When we signed up with La Bianca and La Bianca took on taking our product, we did activation. And I was shocked. Some of the women, when we showed them that this is made in Ghana, they said, hey, na Ghana's yetimiye we waha. So the education also needs to go down. That is something that we can do. And marketing, we have to educate the people on where to get our product. For me, I don't think the price is so much to Ghanaians. And we could also have the government have a legally binding document with the state institutions that the government support in their procurement policies that they should make it a rule of law for them to buy the locally produced chicken, i.e. schools, prisons, and the others. Thank you.
Well put there. Thank you very much, Madam Ede. You mentioned a very interesting aspect that the market is not much of a problem, and also it's a numbers game. Mr. Ramon also led us through the instance where indeed there's a lot of work to be done, laying the foundation for us about the master plan. I want to get Dr. Apeko into the conversation. A technical conversation I've gone through in terms of agri-political policy, but in Mr. Ramon's presentation, he raised key concern about quality and efficiency. As doctors, what do you assess? And also, in regards to this policy, Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, have any of it come to your attention? And also, in terms of distribution, what do you take into consideration?
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, I'm so grateful. I want to continue to say that the primary legislative governing animal health in the country is the Disease of Animal Act that in 1961, Act 83, which over the years needs to be updated. So I think the veterinary services and other stakeholders, with the help of the ministry, have come out with the animal health bill, waiting for it to be passed. And if you look at all these problems that are emanating, I think that with the passage of this law, it will really empower the animal health sector to be able to, specifically veterinary services, to be able to carry out most of these things in order to ensure that most of these things become successful. One key thing that I want to also come out with is that before I come to probably the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, I think that looking at marketing, throughout the whole world, there is a standard in which you can market your product. And if you talk about quality control, these are things that the veterinary services have to ensure to make sure that they're able to market their product, not even just in Ghana, but outside the country. What did Brazil do? They were able to take up a lot of diseases that we call them transboundary animal diseases that will prevent you from selling your product outside your country. And these things give them all the opportunity to be able to export their products to other countries, to be able to make a lot of foreign exchange. So if the animal health sector is being empowered, one, assuming a farmer is producing his product, a farmer is not supposed to carry out routine vaccinations. There is a whole professional body to assist them, to help them to do that. And we are supposed to be able to guide them to that throughout the whole value chain. When you talk about production, of course, the animal production is there to help them with some few guidelines. But at the end of the day, talking about health, talking about even slaughtering and all that, and even for them to be able to meet up with those that are being imported, because those have gone through quality control. You need a veterinarian to do a constant checkup. And that is one thing that is really lacking about consistent monitoring of our farmers. We have cases whereby farmers produce broilers. We have something we call a withdrawal period. maybe animals are not feeling well because of poor biosecurity and all that. And they dose them with drugs. And sometimes market is approaching and they have to push these things to the market. But when these things are checked consistently, we know what is going into the market. And when you are marketing, you can meet standard. By so doing, we'll have quality, yes, we have quality products coming into.
There was a time I heard a poultry farmer say, my chickens are going through stress. I was like, what are you thinking about that you're stressed about?
It's true. One,
yes.
Especially broilers, for example, they go through a lot of stress when they've reached their market value and then you have not pushed them into the system. Most of them even die out of heat stress, not just within any... And one, because of poor quality buildings and all that, most of them are overcrowded and all that. So all these things needs to be checked by the professional, but we need this law in order to empower us to be able to do that. And we hope the ministry, I think, is working very hard, and we hope that this law will be passed very soon to also empower us to be able to do most of these things. Yeah.
You know, interesting enough, when Bright was making his presentation, he mentioned that 2.5 million birds have been distributed across 11 regions, 10,000 birds in each representative associations. I want to understand from you, has your association been consulted, or have you come to consideration in terms of getting your members deployed to assess the output of some of these farmers?
Yeah, I would say the veterinary services has been involved probably in the drafting of the policies and all that. But like I rightly said, when it comes to the implementation down there, there's a lot of communication gap as to who performed this function, who performed this function. Let me give you a classical example. You cannot distribute birds and say, okay, there are routine medications that you can give, but there are others that are supposed to be given with prescription. Because now we are having a lot of problem when it comes to resistance, antimicrobial resistance. Trust me, there are so many antibiotics now. There are so many antibiotics now that are not working with our poultry, with very basic diseases, all because of the abuse by our farmers. So
when you say abuse, what does it entail?
So let me take a very so maybe you buy birds and then your birds are sick. A farmer goes to a colleague farm, oh, my bird is having this problem. He just described the signs and they tell, okay, go and use probably tylosin when they see that animals are coughing. But it could be something else. You could be dealing with a viral disease, you could be dealing with a bacteria, you could be dealing with even management problem, but they go and dose the antibiotics. And now the problem comes that when the problem now becomes more, they now resort to the veterinary services. And then when you do probably your diagnosis and you do your panel, but because they've used these drugs over a period, when you need it, it doesn't work as it's supposed to work. Okay, so most of these medications are given without prescription and all that. So when you need it, because they've abused it, these bacteria get a lot of resistance for it. It's a whole topic on its own.
All right, talking about topic, can you give us an assessment of how many you are? Do you have enough veterinary officers in the country? What is the current numbers you have now?
That is a very challenge. Currently, the whole country, when it comes to veterinary doctors, active service, we are not even more than 75. And some are still retiring. But
like 75,000 or 75?
75. That is veterinary doctors, but when it comes to the technologists and other professionals, they also may be getting to up to about, let's say, from 600 to 700 active, those that are working in the government sector. And these are very inadequate. So you could have a district that you could have just 1 or 2 people managing the whole district. And every day you have new farms springing up. So how do you monitor? Because one, you don't even have the needed logistics to move about. So how do you monitor these farms? How do you ensure that there is quality control? How do you ensure that vaccines and other things are given in the right quantity and farmers are doing what they are expected to do? And it creates a lot of problem or chaos in the whole system. Because the whole chain I think I heard Madam talking about the slaughtering and all these things are supposed to be supervised by veterinary professionals to ensure that slaughtering practices are adhered to and all that. And you need people in all these places. So the whole poultry value chain, you cannot do it without the veterinary profession. And I think that most of these problems are emanating because of our number, because of our capacity, and then because of collaboration. You know, one key thing that Brazil did, it's not just about the veterinary or the farmer or probably the stick, but they linked it even with academia, because most of these problems that are coming, you need researchers to help you to come out with new things that will help you. We are talking about DOCs. It's not just the DOC, but we need quality DOCs. We need quality feed. And that is why there should be a linkage between the researchers, between farmers, and between the veterinary professionals or animal health professionals, so that whatever comes up, it's being driven through. And that is what over the years, I think as a country, we've not done a lot on that. And that is why the poultry industry keeps on going down. Because most of these need to be taught in schools. You can come up, you can have a profession, but you need to build the capacity, because it's not only poultry. It's not only poultry you do as a veterinary professional. There are so many things that you do, but we need to come out with once we have that linkage, we will know their need, and these things can be inserted into the academic curriculum, so that when these professionals can, they'll be able to assist these farms to ensure that.
Interesting. Now, I would like to bring the financing bit of the whole conversation on today's assessment. If you're still watching us, if you're still live on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Joy News, this is the Joy Business Roundtable, the discussion on Ghana feed itself, the future of poultry beyond the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. Indeed, wherever you are, I'm seeing some messages on our social media handles. I'll be reading it live here on the show. Initial assessment made by Madam Edith is the fact that when they come to the banks are somehow willing to open their hands to some of the key proposals raised by the farmers. But I want to understand from Mr. Alabi, who is here with us, to also give us an assessment. Why has it become a key challenge? What are the risk assessments that you consider before you release funding for the poultry sector? And also, not just the poultry sector, I'm sure the agri sector holistically.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so, yes, he did spoke about the appetite, the appetite of the banks. I would say that yes, sometimes financing agri becomes a challenge, and there are various reasons why it happens. So I'll look at some of those reasons, then I'll look at what EcoBank is doing, and then the investment reforms that can help to aid financing of these things. So I would say that yes, there's that perception that agri is risky. Poultry, for instance, why? So we're looking at outbreak of diseases, because if I finance something and in the next minute it can be wiped out as a bank, why would I have to do that? And so for EcoBank, we have measures to deal with things like that. We're also looking at price volatility. So if there is no stability in pricing, then it becomes difficult to do that. Lack of collateral and the rest. Also fragmentation. So most of the smallholder farmers don't even have the records to be able to conduct credit assessment on their request. Now, when it comes to poultry and agri in general, you realize that there is always that working capital intensity. Mm-hmm. Poultry, for instance, when it comes to broiler, you are committing about 70% to feed. That goes in at a go because you have to secure your feed stock. Mm-hmm. That can take you through the entire process. And so the cash conversion cycle becomes a bit longer than what we normally do. Now, what I would say that at EcoBank, we have developed capacity to be able to look at financing agri in general and poultry in particular. So we have a whole unit that is built to look at agri financing. And I would say that for us, it's not about just doing it, but doing it and doing it well. And so we are looking at helping to scale local production when it comes to poultry. We have we have instances where we are financing the entire value chain, and we have instances where we are also financing the sections within the value chain. But in all this, what we try to do is to connect, ensure that whatever, for instance, we complain about market. So whatever we are financing, how are we pushing it out? So we ensure that we connect the dots. And so I would say that to help do this, to help banks to do this and do it better, we must look at some investment reforms. Market protection. We should have predictable trade policies, because if I would finance poultry, for instance, broiler, and at the end of the day, we are not able to push it out, I would have financed the input supplier, the hatchery, the production, the processor, and everybody, and at the end of the day, the goods are on the market, is not going out. What it means is that money is not coming back, and so we need that. Also, we're looking at feed cost reduction. So what policy supports are we putting together? For instance, maize, soya, those are the major ingredients to ensure that when these things are produced, we are able to push it out. So if I finance maize, and at the end of the day, it doesn't get out there because of pricing, then it becomes difficult. And then finally, enforcement of biosecurity standards. Like I indicated, if I would finance poultry that can be wiped out in a minute, why would I have to do that? Who is enforcing standards when it comes to biosecurity? And so yes, there are challenges, all right, but I would say that for us at EcoBank, we have developed capacity to ensure that we do it and do it well.
Is venture capital an option for funding in this space?
Yes.
And how do you assess that?
So for us, I think one of the panelists spoke about blended financing. Yes, we are open to that. As I speak to you, we have a MasterCard program running where we look at the needs of our customers. We look at putting part on the MasterCard program and then putting back part of it on the bank balance sheet. And just to give customers that comfort of having, lower interest rates and enjoying other things. Because, of course, we also provide technical support. We don't finance farmers and leave them. And that is the essence of some of those programs that we run. And especially when it comes to funding women. Not only women, but if you have a business run by a woman or employing women or producing things that women use, we have special packages for them that are mind-blowing. And so...
Yeah. You raised some key serious concerns, but I want to get your opinion. Should poultry financing receive the same attention as oil, mining, or possible infrastructure from your assessment?
In EcoBank, or you're talking general?
General, as a financial expert.
Yes, I would say that in EcoBank, I would say that agri financing is even receiving more attention than the areas you have mentioned. Because on other debtors, you may have just 1 or 2, 3 experts, but on the agri desk, you have a lot of people looking at how we are able to do it better. So I would say, from where I sit, I would say, because for us, even at the group level, that is across Africa, over 34 countries, agri is one of the focus areas for us in EcoBank. And we are putting a lot of resources to doing it and doing it well.
Yeah, I'm sure, Mr. Roma, you want to chip in something?
I want to chip in a lot. I think one thing I want to reiterate is the fact that we know the problems and we have the solutions to the problems. Everybody sitting here. Yes, I just also want to make some correction. When I spoke of marketing, the challenge is not the marketing of the poultry product, but the point of sale. How do people access it? Like we mentioned Aglo. They are at trade fair. If you live at East Legon, I want to buy a chicken. You need to travel all the way to trade fair to come and buy. So we should make it as easy as it is for the imported chicken. We all know where to get imported chicken. You go to your corner shop, you go to the coast store. We need to.
I'd like to support you on that, especially when the multimedia did fair. Surprisingly, some finished before noon.
Yes.
To the extent that some of the farmers had to go back to their warehouses and bring some to the market. Yes.
Yeah. And look, they've mentioned different countries. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have to learn from other people. Like they said, look, South Africa, I did a lot with them. They process about 22 million chicken a week. And as I said earlier, if you want to do total import substitution, we need to be doing about 4.8 million chicken a week in Ghana. Why can't we do that? And so we have the experts. We also need to look at the sectors. We look at finance and other. We need to build in resilience. Again, in 2023, South Africa was hit by serious avian influenza, dissipated the whole industry. But because they had built-in resilience strategy, they were able to revamp. They had insurance and things that were able to revamp within a year or two. We need to do that. So what I want to say is that government should let us really look at the policy they are looking at it. I mean, there's serious gaps. Again, consistently, the policy has been around distributing, not only in the poultry sector, agri sector in general. If it's oil palm, distributing seedlings. If it's poultry, giving feed, it's not helping. And we cannot address the challenges you're talking about if government takes the lead. We need the private sector to take the lead.
I get the feeling, per your initial assessment, that you've been meeting with some of the stakeholders. Even yesterday you did that. How is the mood like? Is there a form of contention a mood of contention or a mood of collaboration? Are they agreeable device?
The master plan recommended a 10-year period. And they said, look, we should be able to do this in 5 years, learning from other countries like Nigeria, like South Africa, and we should be able. So there's a renewed interest to get it done. But I think what we are lacking is leadership. Leadership from the private sector, right leadership from government. So there are roles for each sector. The private sector has its own role to play, the sector association and other things. That's one thing that we have lacked. It's very weak in Ghana. We need to strengthen that. So that we improve the coordination between all the various actors on the value chain, processors, feed mills, producers, hatcheries, breeder farms. We need to create that. And governments, as much as possible, to reduce spending physical cash in the industry. Supply is distorting the market. They should rather look at creating an enabling environment. I mean, we mentioned the guest house model. It's a very good model. Can we extend that? Access to land remains other very difficult things. Even the road network. I know some of the processors bring live birds all the way from Doma to Accra. There's no hatchery in Wa. Now, if the lamb that Dr. Kwe mentioned, if he's buying from Kumasi or Accra, if he has to go, it takes 2 days. And by the time, the mortality will be so high. So if you don't have hatcheries, we know now it takes about 7-8 hours to get to Kumasi and to Wa. If there's an accident, maybe 2-3 days. So government should govern, create the environment and allow private sector to take the lead and then address the issue. Government cannot do it. And one more thing I want to say, I heard the minister when we were playing the soundbite saying, oh, even MP, we seem to joke about the problem. Poultry is rocket science.
Interesting. Now, let me get Mr. Ali, the Greater Accra, CEO of the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. Mr. Ali, there are concerns over strong cartel of importers who are working against the homegrown policy that government, or let's say stakeholders, are trying to implement. Is that the case? And if not, what do you make of it?
Certainly there should be cartels. Development is a struggle. What is the government policy intended to do with the cartels if they exist? You see, with the strong policy guide, no cartel will survive in certain industries. That's the benchmark. There's something I heard from the minister's soundbite. He said the objective of the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti is to increase the poultry production in the country. If you listen to all the stakeholders by the table, does it tell you that the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti is capable of letting us achieve this objective? No, I'm asking you the host first before I proceed.
Now, what I understand by the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti, there's the household level, the medium scale level, and the commercial scale level. So currently, initial assessment by the coordinator says that we are now moving to the medium scale before the commercial.
Granted that. Look, we are looking at certain policies which should be sustainable. I don't want to go to Brazil, South Africa. Look at our closest neighbors, Cote d'Ivoire and things. What are they doing differently? You see, sometimes our policymakers should try to listen to some of us on the ground. We are not just criticizing for criticizing sake. We want the thing to work for us. Because
so what do you propose is the way forward that government must look at basically to make it work?
One is the value chain. Look, we talk about the feed. Feed take almost 80% of the industry costs. How do you get the sustainable maize production? Soya, the processing. Raymond just mentioned that we export our soya in the raw state. We import, look, much of the soya that we use in this industry are imported. South Africa, Brazil, China, Argentina, and those things. And that tells you know how our currency behaves when there's much import. It goes to the build-up costs. You see, and we want to see a policy that will transcend beyond one government. Look, I can tell you, any other government beyond the current government will not proceed with this Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti. But what policy will government initiate that will be sustainable? We have a resilient farmers in this country. I'm telling you. Look, I'm a feed miller. I'm not a farmer. But I am leading over 1,000 farmers across this country. Their cry is not only freebies. It's not only freebies. They want some sustainable policies. That, look, we do mention of Gracer. Gracer actually, at the initial distance, was very helpful. You can go to some banks that are signed on, you take certain facility, they take part of your interest cover. You are paying part. Very helpful. But Gracer now is on a different wavelength altogether. Let's put that aside. My brother, we want something that will hold the base. It's about the base. People are in this industry for over 40 years. Is it Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti that has sustained them for 40 years? No. It's the resilience of the farmer. We talk about marketing. If there's a clear policy guidelines, government should set the policy guidelines. Look, when you produce, you should not be the marketer. There will be off-takers, whom are going to be the established farmers. I can produce from, say, Koti, but my product should be visible in Kumasi, should be visible in Bono, should be visible wherever anybody wants to get it. Look, these are glad issues. When our farmers produce in excess of the air and what the market can take, without the intervention of the multimedia, I'm telling you, some of the eggs will have been rotten. A lot of my farmers are out of business. Some of them don't want to come back again because what they suffered under the egg glut. Let's say we have a sustainable project like school feeding program. Government have initiated, look, we want to supply the primary schools and an egg per day. So it's a marketing distance. We are in about 9 regions of the country. And every farmer knows I produce this X number of eggs and I know the center where I'm delivering it to. That means there's a guaranteed market. When you produce and you are now to struggle and find your market, there's an additional destiny.
Have we submitted a proposal of that nature to the Greek ministry?
My brother, if you are not consulted, how can you submit? When you make an overture and nobody's minding you, how can your destiny be inputted? Look, the thing that we want to, our farmers, look, when I advertise this program on our platform as the chief executive, our farmers have wonderful solutions. But when the policymaker has an iron curtain, doesn't want to hear you, what can you do? You can only lament. You can't go beyond lamentation. Look,
all right.
Farmers, look, my brother, I can tell you, look, the young ones who are venturing into farming because the prospect in it, but after 1-2 steps, they are hit, and there's nothing you can do.
All right, Ali, I'll get back to you shortly. You mentioned lamentation. Let me get to the books of Proverbs and listen to Mr. Bright, who is currently with us right now. Mr. Bright, you've heard from my panelists here in studio. You've also heard from the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. Remember, can you hear me? Okay, we'll get Mr. Bright in shortly. But I also want to okay, Mr. Bright is joining us. One thing that has come to light is the current state of the policy. Many have raised concerns about lack of coordination. And also the level of collaboration that is needed to enhance its full implementation. There are several concerns about the level of commitment, but one thing that has come to light is the fact that the 2025 budget, an amount of 241 million Ghana cedis, is yet to be assessed for some aspects of the Feed Ghana project. But in terms of financial commitment, how much would you say have gone in so far?
Thank you very much. Agriculture in Ghana is private sector led. The state is only in to bring in policies that will support or create that enabling environment for the public sector to strive. So if you look at the policy document, they are all interventions to support and to bring in the private sector to make sure that things work out in the poultry sector in the country. That is why from the one, if you look, that is why when they talk about, I have a little bit of difficulty is that if at the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti implementation level, the backyard level, knowing very well that most of the backyard farmers are not poultry farmers, we send the birds
okay, I think we're having a bit of a technical challenge. Mr. Bright will join us once again shortly. Yes, and once he comes back, we'll get to understand how much of financial commitment that has been made on the Feed Ghana project and how much have been spent so far, which aspect can he take us through in terms of breakdown? The minister spoke extensively on this with my colleague Carlos Coloni over the weekend and raised serious concerns, which has necessarily dealt with how much has been spent. I want to come back in studio and speak with Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan, you've heard from various aspects of this conversation. One will wonder whether, in terms of import, will we get to a point where, based on the current conversation that have been stirred up in this studio, where we can say we are sufficient enough to deal? Because if you go through our markets, you see a lot of restaurants coming up, and you go through their menus, chicken is one of the ingredients, or let's say one of the demands, and most of them, and I'm wondering, we still have that gap there. Is it a case of we not collaborating, or what is missing in the link there?
I see hope.
Yes.
And I see improvement. If you go round now, you see that the appetite for private sector to invest in the poultry sector now is better than before. There are some that have suffered badly. There are some that are still suffering, but there are also ones that are emerging and those that are also recovering. So I see a lot of hope. There are other models that we can do to move us closer to our self-sufficiency. For example, Agri-Impact, through the Mastercard Foundation, we are partnering with Ghana Armed Forces. And this is a huge institution that buys food. So partnering with them to produce chicken. And once a market is created there, even Rockland can also supply. So when we have this institution, that is Ghana Armed Forces, we have the prison service, we have the Ghana Police Service, we have the fire service. These are institutions that also consume a lot. So our partnership with the Ghana Armed Forces is to be built such that at a point in time, all their poultry intake will be produced by themselves. And it's not going to be they are producing to just distribute. They are producing and buying it so that it will be revolving. The other thing, a model that we have seen that has been eye-opener to us is having some of the mining companies investing hugely in the community in the poultry sector. And they are investing in processing, supporting the community to produce, to feed the processing infrastructure. There is a feed mill company that is not too far away, which is also an aggregator. And that feed mill is now investing into broiler and into day-old chicks and brooder stock production. If our corporate organizations begin to move away also from the freebies and sponsoring
beauty pageant.
Oh, I don't want to go there. And sponsoring certain things, but redirect the investment into economic activities at the localities where they operate. It will also bring transformation. So once we have all these people coming in, I have also heard that Ghana Exim Bank has good appetite to invest in the poultry sector. I mean, we have seen signs, which is also good news for our private sector firms. So honestly speaking, there has been a lot of sensitization, there's been a lot of attention, and we are seeing more private sector moving into the poultry space. And that is what we are looking for. I am very optimistic. And I keep also advising the young ones. They have the social media tools. We talk about Aglo that has just one outlet at La.
Yes.
But these days, you can have one outlet but be distributing across. Mm-hmm. Except that it is not easy for one person to buy 1 kilo and then a delivery guy will move it from La all the way to Bawi. That will not work. But we can also have our young people, our social media influencers, yes, our bloggers, yeah, who will be promoting the consumption of locally, or we say nationally produced chicken.
The digital Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti.
Once they are promoting, people in communities will be asking. And the people who are already in business, whether they are in the cold, they are selling imported chicken, mm-hmm, once people are asking for, it also gives them the appetite to now bring from Aglo, from Amas, from Ransboat, from Lamdi, from Rockland, yes, and all the locally produced
very much chicken. Said Dr.
Yes,
Dan.
that also creates job opportunities for them.
Yeah, let me get, Madam Edith, while you are answering this question, also you can also land briefly on your submission. What do you make of investment in the cold chain infrastructure? Is there something that we should consider? And if we can, how should it be done to ensure the supply in terms of preserving the quality in that? Briefly, we don't have much time.
The cold chain sector is an investment that a private person can take in, because Rockland doesn't have to do or raise the birds, do the feed process, and also do the logistics as well. That is an opportunity for somebody to take. And then come to Doctor, as part of the grants I received from the MasterCard program through TechnoServe, we have distributed freezers to some people in the community that we've done the BOP pack 1 kg. So we have about 40 freezers in the community that we are selling 1 kg pack, making it available for our area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well noted, well noted.
Yes.
Other can also look into getting the freezers, doing the 1 kg pack, because from the research report that I did, it's not everybody that can afford the whole chicken, but the 1 kg is affordable to everyone. That is something that currently we are piloting in the Setre South and Setre Kumawu district. Thank you.
Well said. Let me get brief remark from Dr. Pekuso as well. A final remark.
Okay. So thank you so much, and I want to say that disease outbreak I will still hammer on is one of the key things that is really destroying our industry. Quality control, biosecurity measures. I think these are things that have to be looked at in a holistic way. Gone are the days where you have poultry farmers sited in places where residential areas were not there, but now because of urbanization, it's compromising biosecurity measures and all. So I think that it has to, land policies have to be made to protect the farmers and all that, and also to ensure that we have standards biosecurity measures so that when they are assessing facilities and other things, they can also have. One thing I also want to add is that farmers, several years ago, farmers had trust in veterinary services to do every interventions for them, but now because of social media, and then farmers are doing things on their own, and they wait till the problem comes before they resort to the professionals. I think we need to work together. That is why we were trained for several years. We are there to support, to make sure that when the farms are prospering, we are also okay. So let's work together as key actors. No one should jump into somebody's space and feel that, oh, I can fill the space because this person doesn't have the capacity. No. Everybody should be respected. Everybody should be able to work in this line. And I think that going forward, we should also, policies should be such that targets can be given to various animal actors to ensure that they fulfill or they are able to meet those targets. And as a country, we should take this thing very seriously, because at the end of the poultry sector has a lot of
great
prospects to be able to.
Right, Mr. Alabi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I would say that at EcoBank we are very much committed to supporting the national poultry industry. Let me put it that way, and we have developed capacity to play in that sector. We also have partnerships that can help farmers to, like I indicated, we have affordable capital collateral-free loans at a certain thresholds. And so we are ready, walk into one of our branches and make requests. And we will be happy to welcome you and then work with you to make sure that we are fighting a common battle. And I believe that at the end of the day, we'll win together as a nation in the poultry industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure let me get a remark also from Mr. Raymond.
Okay, so I want to say two things quickly.
Briefly, please.
Briefly. I think there's been this tendency of vilifying the importers. They are business people, and they have a critical role to play. They have the cold chain infrastructure that you mentioned, and they understand the market. So we should give them a business case to buy the locally, nationally produced chicken. That's one thing. The second thing I want to say is that, with this current backlash, government shouldn't take it personal. It should be an opportunity to relook at the document, as I said earlier. They have a policy. I think there are clearly gaps in the policy. We're also trying, with the help of MasterCard and Agri-Impact, trying to put together a master plan. So we should see the master plan as an implementation strategy, and then we should just dovetail the two documents, fill in the gaps in the policy, the current policy, and then see how the two documents will work. And then, as has been clearly stated, that can transcend one government, so that within the next period, we have good policy that the stakeholders are interested in. We have an implementation strategy, and then we can turn things around. I think it can be done, and it's very doable.
Great. Let me get also final words from Mr. Lee, the CEO of the Greater Accra Regional Poultry Farmers Association. Mr. Lee, your final words. I'm sure certainly you have few takeaways briefly.
Yes, I think, let me thank Multimedia. I think we will continue to engage Feed Ghana office. Honorable Demoji, please take our criticism in good faith. We want to see the sector working. Clearly, when you start implementing a policy like this, the gap will certainly start showing. We want to fill in the gaps, show where we want to balance everything. But Mr. Honorable Demoji, I'll come around. Let's work together for the betterment of the industry.
Indeed, you shouldn't take it personal, and this is for Golden Country. And here at the Multimedia Group, we always ensure we give objective assessment of what is happening across sectors. And today, the spotlight is on the agri-poultry farming industry. We brought you the assessment here on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Joy News, also across all our social media platforms. Joy Business handles this, and we always ensure we bring you objective assessment. And certainly, we'll be coming forward to the Agri Minister himself eventually after this assessment. All the opinions shared here, expect the policy document to the agribusiness, to the Agri Minister himself, that is Mr. Eric Opoku. And so I want to thank you for watching us here this morning. My name is Winston Taki, and I had the privilege of hosting my panelist, Mr. Raymond Dente, the Agribusiness Finance Market Systems, and also we had the privilege of also having Mr. Ali Mohammed, the CEO of Greater Accra Regional Poultry Farmers Association. We also have Edith Akosa Wetland, the CEO of Rockland Farms, and she's also a farmer, a processor, a marketer, and a feed producer. Dr. Dan Akwe, the CEO of Agri Impact, and Raymond Dente, lead consultant in the National Poultry Farmers Association Master Plan. Before we go, I think I didn't get opportunity to hear from Mr. Bright. Mr. Bright, there was a very personal message sent from Ali saying that don't take it personal. But however, I want to get your final statement before we go.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is not personal. These are policy interventions by all stakeholders. It's been validated by all stakeholders, but it's not in policy implementations. There's always the need to review and look at it when you are started implementations. So we agree that there may be some gaps, but we also need to agree the fact that all stakeholders were invited, and there are documents to prove that point that the National Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana was part of the validation process. That's the point I want to make. It is not about emotions, it's about the fact. But let me also say that if you go into the document, all the problems being enumerated by the panelists will look at, and there are clear policy directions and strategy to look at them. It is on that vein that the very day the president launched the Nkokɔ Nkitinkiti program, that very day we went into Bechem to launch a very integrated, complex poultry infrastructure. That is to look at feed production in the Middle Belt, hatchery, processing, marketing, and cold room systems. That infrastructure is there. And the program is to look at it from the southern sector, the Middle Belt, and the Northern Belt. So most of the issues you raise with regard to even the veterinary services and all that, the program have realized that there are difficulties in the veterinary provisions, even the extension delivery on the field. So we take up all those points, and the policy and its implementation is resolving most of these challenges, like the bill for veterinary services, to ensure that they have an act that a new act that will look at it comprehensively. Those are all initiatives by the ministry and the program to ensure that we bring in all the stakeholders on board. So the policy is being comprehensive. We are looking at the whole value chain. So maybe some of our panelists haven't had the privilege of looking into the full complement of the document. We can provide it for them to look at. And this is not...
We hope the document is on your website.
Yes, it's on the MOFA website. So they should go into the document. When you go to the MOFA website, the document is there, so that they can have detailed information about the document, so that when the criticisms are coming, we can see it clearly. But something that is boldly written in the document, a strategy that is boldly written in the document, for somebody to say not in, is very problematic. So I also appeal to them as stakeholders in the sector, they should go back and look at the document, because clearly, from hatchery to processing to marketing, There are clear strategies in the document, and I can mention practical things.
Mr. Bright, I think we'll certainly create another opportunity to go deeper because we've had extensive conversation here. And once again, I want to appreciate that you make time to join us here on Joy News. This has been the Joy Business discussion here, roundtable, bringing you a comprehensive assessment of Ghana's poultry industry, whether we are self-sufficient, following several government policy. I had the privilege of having Dr. Dan Aqua, the Agri-Impact Happy Project, here in studio. Also, Ali Mohammed, the CEO of Greater Accra Regional Poultry Farmers Association, Edith Akosa-Whitland, the CEO of Rockland Farmers, Raymond Dente, the Agribusiness Finance Market System and Poultry Sector Expert, Dr. Kwao Peku, the representative of the Veterinary Medical Association, Timothy Alabi, Agri-Sector Lead at EcoBank Ghana Limited. We had the privilege of having on Zoom Bright Kujo Dimoji, the National Coordinator for the Feed Ghana Program, and Ali Mohammed, the CEO of Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. Once again, from the Minister himself, Agricultural Minister, says, do not eat the fowls. Don't eat everything. Keep some. Keep some. We'd like to thank you for watching us and also watching us from across the world. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Up next is the Midday News. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Misses, bad referee decisions. Don't let your child's grade suffer a bad match. Ensure a straight win this academic season with curriculum-aligned textbooks and interactive tools from Pegasus Publishing.